What's that?
Jack Harlow tune that's been in my head for the past 2 days.
Oh, I always have songs stuck in my head.
Yeah, but yours are like children's songs and like random annoying hooks.
Yeah. The box is missing. I forgot. I grabbed the box, but forgot to bring it in here.
You mean our highly technical pedestal, microphone pedestal?
Yes. So how goes it?
An early day today.
Yes. How early did you have to get up?
I got up at 5:30.
I was already up and I heard the alarm. I'm like, what maniac? For me, that's not maniac. But in this house, anybody other than me waking up, I'm like, what maniac set their alarm? And it was you, apparently. How was that early morning practice?
I wouldn't say it was high energy. They only had 8 people there. Oh, 7. So
7 o'clock's not even that early.
no, but coming out of the holiday break on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
When most of the team's still even back from the holidays.
Well, and they didn't get home probably till after 10 last night.
Yeah, that's the throwdown is it was less than 11 hours between practices.
Yeah.
From when they practiced last night to when they were back on the ice this morning.
And then a bunch of them went swimming after practice.
Yeah, not too many because again, there wasn't that many at practice last night either.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And how was your conversation this morning with your eldest daughter?
You know, I'm really good at parenting. So when I get an opportunity to parent, it's so fulfilling when they appreciate my parenting skills. Yeah, it didn't go well. It was emotional from the second words stopped coming out of my mouth. I received a lot of emotion back, which was exactly what I was trying to avoid. So I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, it was an absolute failure. Like you can't even grade it. It was brutal.
And she's never to be seen again.
Yeah, she took her tea and went downstairs. We haven't seen her in a couple hours now, or an hour or so. So, yeah, not a great example of.
Okay, so what have you learned that you can do differently for next time?
I should have not proceeded right then. I should have said, I want to talk to you. No, we'll do it some other time, right? In a little bit. There was too many things going on around. At one point, one parent thought it would be good to try and pull her pants down when she was making tea as a joke. So that kind of threw things off a smidge, just a smidge. And I'm not saying which parent.
I didn't. I was just pretending to.
Yes, you were just pretending
to. She was immediately mad.
Yeah.
Do you think that changed the course?
100% it changed the course of things. And I should have known to be like, hey, we'll talk about this later when your other sibling isn't here annoying you. So there was that. That's what I could have done differently for sure. I think realistically, I don't know because it's our girls are super good, and I don't think it's exclusive to our girls. I think any kid isn't really receptive to feedback or instruction from their parents, regardless of how you do it, right? And all the sporting associations say don't talk about it and give feedback right after the game. All right, cool. We'll wait. It's equally as ill received after the moment as it is in the moment. But at the end of the day as well, because I was thinking about this afterwards, I almost wonder. This is a great question for us to dive into, but have we lost the ability to actually give feedback and just be okay with the fact that our kids need to sit there and suffer through negative feedback, right? Mm-hmm. Because, and this isn't isolated to this incident, this is all the incidents kind of combined. It is never their fault. There is always a reason it's not their fault. It's always a reason that they're trying to do their best and someone else is telling them to do it, and whatever multitude of things, and it just stops there. At the end of the day, what I was trying to get through to her was, it doesn't matter. And we never got to it. It stopped. And I'll have to go back and try and revisit it, and I'll try and restate the fact. But it wasn't about what was going on or not going on. What I was trying to drive to is you need to read the situation better and make the right decision in that situation. Rather than blindly doing what you think you should or shouldn't to avoid getting in trouble, what do you think you need to do in that situation to have the best outcome? And that's what I was hoping to get to, and we just didn't. But it really does raise a question of because we've talked about it before as well. But how do we provide feedback in a manner that the kids actually go away and whether they I don't need compliance. I don't need just blind, acceptance of it. I'm okay if they push back if I think they're engaged in the conversation, but that's not how they push back. They push back as a defense mechanism of it's not my fault, I don't want to hear it. You guys are always yelling at me, blah, 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 and then off they go, right? And there's just no progress that way, which to me long term worries me about what is going to be their ability to take feedback in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if they can't take feedback in the most gentle way that we try and deliver it when it is something big, how in the hell are they going to sit across the desk from a boss that's saying, you're not doing the job I need you to do, you need to do better? What are they going to do? Right? How are they going to deal with that?
Yeah.
Like, it took me a long time to be okay with hearing something in a professional example that I wasn't wanting to hear. And it took me even longer to take that and go away and think about it and see what it is I could do to incorporate some of that feedback. Whether I agreed with it all or not is irrelevant, because you can shed the stuff you don't agree with, but there's always something in that you should be able to take away and make an improvement, make an adjustment, whatever, right? And if you fundamentally disagree with what's being told to you, you can leave that situation. And I've done that, right? Like right after Willow was born, I was in a job, there was tons of changes. I went in and had a conversation about what I thought my role should be. And the feedback I was given was they needed me to be more like a person who I couldn't respect less if they paid me a bonus every year. This was the type of person that I hated working with. They were self-centered, they were rude, they were egotistical, they were useless, but they were good at the politics of it. And that's what I was being told I need to be better for. And so that I knew fundamentally wasn't feedback I wanted to hear. And I quit. I literally quit the next day. I came home, talked to you, and I said, I'm good. I'm going to go somewhere else. And so that's the extreme. But at the same time, up until that point, and ever since then, I've taken feedback and I try and take it to heart. And I worry that whether it's the age they're at and hopefully they grow into that ability, I don't know. But I worry that we're not giving them enough practice at it in a way that's comfortable for them to be able to look beyond the initial statement and look for the truth in it for them that they can work on.
Yeah. And I know this was a previous way to go for hijacking, Maya.
Sorry.
No, but this is good. Actually, I'm the one who brought this up, and it is good. I know we talked about it before, so hopefully we don't contradict ourselves again here. And
if we do, it just means that our situation's changed.
But it is important. And I mean, we do have ADHD girls who are more sensitive to corrective feedback, but I think we just have a generation of kids who have a hard time because, I mean, we've talked about it so much. Everybody gets a trophy. We're patting everything. Oh, it wasn't your fault. It was the goalie, or it was your D, or it was, whatever. We're trying to soften things all the time, but they're never getting that feedback. And I think I actually gave the example before. I can't remember. I'm going to share it again. But Brene Brown actually was sharing a story of going to a swim lesson. So she was a competitive swimmer, and now her kids are. And she had gone to a practice, and the coach was at the end of the pool giving thumbs up, thumbs down, or like meh, right? Like in the middle, meh. Like, okay, but continue working. And I guess a bunch of the parents were complaining, right? Like, why can't you be more encouraging? Because there wasn't a lot of thumbs up out there, right? Yeah. There's a lot of corrective feedback. And so the parents were all getting upset that their kids weren't hearing these positive words of encouragement all the time. But Brene was like, well, no, because when they do get that thumbs up, that pride of accomplishment, I did it. Yeah. Yes. Right. And so that's the kids' mindset to be like, okay, got to work again. Right. I'm not going to tell the kids that was perfect. You did great because it was the flip at the end of the pool when they had to flip and come back. Right. And so Brene was like, our kids need to hear that because they know that there's still room and they're going to go and go and go and go. And that's what it should be, is a challenge response. I'm going to do it again. Okay, almost there. Going to do it again. Okay, almost there. And then when we get it, yes. But if we're hearing the empty praise all the time and we're never getting anything to work on. I mean, I had that experience in my acting classes. Remember, I'd always come
Mhm.
home and I'd be so frustrated because I'd never get feedback. You're so good. You're so good. Well, okay, why don't I have an Oscar then? Why aren't I not getting all these big roles then if I'm so good?
Yeah.
Like, I need to have that feedback, looking for it. So, maybe that's one thing. It's them getting in the mindset of just expecting to have feedback and wanting to get feedback. What could I do better?
But I think part of it as well is, and this is something that I've had to learn over the years, and thankfully I've been in enough positions where I was, team lead or whatever. You have to learn how to provide meaningful feedback,
Yeah.
positive or negative, and people aren't good at it.
No.
People aren't good at it. People, and you can tell, like, the perfect example is like, oh my God, I'm with these people and they're just amazing. No, they're not. They're average. They're just doing the same thing as you, right? And that's cool. Go do it. But not everybody is a hero. Not everybody is amazing. No, and it's not to say that they can't be, but situationally, it's not a world full of exceptional people being exceptional all the time, right? There's a lot of things that people do because they have to do it. People do just to get through it. People, may or may not enjoy doing. And I get it's a framing thing for some people, but it's so prevalent that everybody is overhyping their situation. It is overstating their place, that overall, I don't know that adults know how to give and receive feedback, because when they do, it's typically too much emotionally driven and negative, right? And it's almost startling when someone gives you feedback in a calm and rational manner that you're like, oh, okay, cool. Because you're just so used to being so perfect or such an idiot. Like there's no in between, right? And so I think as parents, you need to really work on, we always talk about reading the situation, but I think this goes deeper than that. You really need to work on consistently providing opportunities for kids to not feel like crap, but to recognize that there's more that they could do. Right. And I think that to me is the concern, is I think, we at times have taken the it's not worth the fight approach of, okay, fine, whatever. Right. And I know we get exasperated. Right. And we've got great kids. And I'm not trying to heap on my kids. We're very lucky. But at the same time, just to what I just said, they're not perfect, nor do I want them to be
No,
perfect,
no.
right? I want them to, yeah, you summed it up perfectly. I want them to want to be better, right? And we've joked about it. When the kids first started playing ringette, they come off the ice and they'd be like, "I was the best person out there," and it's like, dude, you weren't even the second best, or like you weren't even like
Top
second from the
five.
bottom. Yeah, like you were bad, right? But we chose to try and build up their self-confidence because we wanted them to get into it and get better at it. But I think, yeah, there's work to be done in trying to provide them the skills they're going to need, and one of them's going to need it very soon, right?
Yeah.
Because profs aren't going to give a flying what if you're struggling, right? If you're not hitting
Well,
the mark.
she's not one that would ever come and ask, because even her teachers now are giving her those opportunities. But I do think there is that. And especially, for our one kiddo this year, who I do believe she believes she's the best on the team. And so therefore doesn't need to work. But even with her shot, I don't need to work on my shot. I was told by this one coach that I have the perfect shot. It's perfect. That's where it gets hard,
Yeah,
when they're hearing you're so good, it's so perfect. Well, what specifically was perfect?
yeah.
Was it your stance? But of course it would be. You're standing still in front of an empty net. Like, what happens when you start skating and you're in runners? What happens when you put
Well,
skates
and
on
that's it.
and
How do
start
you
moving?
build upon it? Sure, in that instance, it was awesome, but how do you build upon it so that you can get a shot off quickly down low? How are you going to translate into an unexpected pass comes your way? How do you capitalize on a one timer? Like, there's so many different things that I think I think parents and coaches and people in leadership positions with children need to think about. It's important to praise, but it's important to use that praise as a step.
And being very specific about
Yes.
what, saying you're so good. Okay, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So it was your stance. I liked how you went in, you know, with that stance, or with your math. Like, I like how you put in your effort.
Yeah.
And then on this test, look, you did all of your addition.
Yeah.
Let's look at your subtraction ones. What went well? Okay, you were carrying or borrowing or whatever it was you were doing,
Yeah.
right? Where did things fall down? I'm an open-ended question asker rather than saying you need to work on this or this was good. I always start with how do you think you did? Now, one of our children already, I had done that actually not too long ago. And immediately she's like, why? What did you see? What did I do wrong? Immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like, what makes you think that? Well, why are you even asking me this?
Yeah.
Right. So I think we just need to take a step back and just make it regular practice. Maybe it is, well, I've talked about the mistake of the day,
Yep.
right? Every day, just celebrate. In classrooms, do this, and at home, do this. What was your mistake of the day and how can you fix it?
Yeah.
We were really good at that for a while, but maybe we can expand on that and saying, you know, maybe in specific areas, what did I do well at school? What do I need to continue working on? What did I do well in my sport? What can I continue working on for us? And I think it's important for us. What did I do well at work? What can I work on?
Nothing. I'm awesome. I don't know where the kids get it from. And it's
But I
funny.
think it's just laying that foundation.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head when you're talking about specific feedback, because I know Maya especially gets frustrated now that she's older in sport at the parent coaches that you can tell aren't really experienced as coaches, because their feedback is usually off the mark and it's usually really generic, and she hates that.
Yeah.
Her preferred coaches over the past couple seasons have been ones that she comes off and goes, hey, next time when you're in there, try this and this and this. I really liked how you did this, but try that. And they give them, you're bang on, specific feedback, good or bad, but not in a self-directed way. It's, hey, do this or try this, right? I liked this, but next time this. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. They think that slapping them on the back and saying good job is great, but that only works up until you have to give them negative feedback and you don't know how to do it, because then it becomes, why are they yelling at me? I hate them because all they do is like yell at me, and they're constantly yelling at me. Well, yeah, they're yelling at you because you're halfway across the rink and they need to make sure you hear them. They're not yelling at you because they're mad, right? But they don't know the difference. They just know that all of a sudden the tone is different. They're upset. I don't want that, right? And so that to me is part of it as well, is learning to differentiate the communication style being put upon you as well. It's not always, and again, this I know is more age specific, right? Like it's going to be harder for kids in the teenage years to be regulating that emotion sometime with all the stress and everything else going on. I get that. But still, I've met full grown adults that can't handle any sort of pushback. They immediately tear up and get emotional, and why are you out to get me? And it's like, dude, I'm not out to get you. I'm out to get myself continually employed. And if you don't do this, I get fired, right? Like, and it's those sort of things that I think is important. But yeah, it definitely it's definitely a good reminder that, you know, as much as we joke around about how awesome we are, there's still stuff that I don't know how to do. Yeah. Right. I really don't know how to do. And this was a perfect example of it. I'm still banging my head on both sides trying to figure out.
Well, it's harder as parents for sure. Cause you said like it would be different if it was the coach giving, but it's so bad. Like she's had a coach before who will just say, you're a disappointment. You played like crap. Okay. What specifically? Yeah. Right. And so it is the balance of, like, you know, come in with the positive. These are the things that I saw you do really well.
Yeah.
And then, but I still personally prefer, what did you think you did well? And then I'm like, hey, that's what I noticed too. Or in addition, these are some of the things that I also noticed. Yeah. Now on the flip side, what's something you think you could work on? Right. Yeah. And so I think it's just maintaining that and establishing it. But I think this is important. Again, it's not just with sports or even school. Like, just think about corrective feedback for your kids. Maybe it's they cleaned up their room, but they literally picked up one sock and the rest of the room is still a disaster. Yeah. So, hey, kiddo, what's something that you did well? Hey, I noticed that sock got put away, right? Or
Yeah.
picked up on your desk. Like, even if it's just not how you would do it or exactly how you would do it, hey, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
What do you think could still be worked on? I've got a couple of ideas, but I'm interested. I think that's important to say. Like, I've got a couple of ideas when you're ready, but first, let's hear what you have to say. And then when they say, well, I still have to pick up all my toys and books, hey, you know what? Very observant. That's what my feedback was too. It sounds like we're on the same page.
Yeah.
But if it's different, then we can say, well, hey, I like how you noticed those types of things. Good eye. I didn't catch those. I had a couple of other ones,
Yeah.
if you're ready to hear it. And then it's, based on this, if they're still engaged, because I think there might be a time, well, like this morning was a great example. She just walked off. She became defensive, blamed somebody else. And that's the problem, right? If their defense mechanisms go up, they're either going to cry, beat themselves up that they're horrible, or they might still cry and become defensive, like, why are you such a jerk? Right? That's usually the two
Yeah.
things. But then it's saying, hey, like, I noticed that maybe this wasn't the feedback that you were expecting. Let's pick this back up. Just go and sit with it, process it, and then we'll talk about it later. But I love, like, I'm just thinking of PJ and Finn. So PJ always coached his
Yeah.
son's football, and they would always have the recording. So it was just set up. Every game, we're going to come back and we're going to analyze. And they do that. They sat through it. So it was just the expectation that we're going to go through and see what was good. And now he's on scholarship at university doing his thing that he loves, right? And I think that really helped. He was looking for that. And so, I mean, it's hard when everything is evaluated. We talk about growth mindset, but school is still evaluated.
Yeah.
Parents still evaluate kids, how well or well not or poorly they did their chore or the thing, right?
Yeah.
So we got to be careful with that and just look at the one next step. And I think it's just creating the seeds, planting the seeds, and then continuously watering them, continuously having these conversations.
Yeah. And I think the one thing as well, though, is to be, because you brought it up already in that, our kids, they are immediately defensive when psychologist Caroline shows up, right?
They always just assume it's psychologist
I
Caroline.
know, but I think,
even though I'm like, it's just me as mom.
no, I know, but they've lumped it all in there, right? So for you, the challenge is you have to come up with different ways to try and present it to keep the defenses down as long as possible, because they both, are sharp enough that they kind of pick up on what we're trying to do a lot of times, right? And sometimes they'll begrudgingly go along, but other times we'll get the reaction we got today, right? I'm not as good at setting it up as you are, regardless, right? My feedback style a lot of times is much more direct, and I try not to because I know the girls don't really respond to it. But at the same time, part of me defaults to, well, screw it. I know Caroline's communicating the other way. They need to learn how to get direct feedback too, right? And it's not the right choice. I think sometimes it needs to be.
Yeah.
But it's not my preferred approach at all. Like, I don't want to make it sound like I want to be that guy, but it's tricky because I'm not as good at it as you are. And when I do try and practice, it's usually an abysmal failure like today was.
But you came with the right energy. You were joking, like you're bringing humor.
I was trying to keep it light for sure, right? Because I know that I can come across, especially to them, as being harsh.
And you gave the invite too.
Yeah.
And she accepted the invite to talk now. So.
Yeah, and then something changed. I don't know what happened. Maybe we should really dive into that again.
No, you could already tell the edge in her voice. Yeah. So based on that, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Based on that, I think there's two things. Let's see if I can remember them. One is my point about having a regular, continuous conversation is important, because if we only bring up something bad every so often, they're automatically going to know it's bad.
Yeah, fair enough.
So now I'm already defensive. So that's why, like with PJ and Finn, it was just every game they sat down.
Yeah.
And so if we have the conversation or the expectation, maybe it's every week after chores, or maybe it's after every game, we're going to sit down and we're going to highlight, a good, a bad, and an ugly, or something like that. So that's one piece, is just making it, because if we're only ever doing it unexpectedly and it's always something negative, they're just automatically
Yeah,
going to
fair
be
enough.
defensive.
Yeah, fair enough.
So even tests, it's like, okay, after every test, maybe like that could be the expectation, or every assignment if schoolwork, pick your one thing. That was going to be my second point. Sometimes we're harping them on everything, chores and school and sports. There are parents who are getting on their kids' back for everything.
Yeah, but are the kids deserving of it?
So it's picking your one area to focus on for now.
Yeah.
And then make that expectation. So maybe it's after every assignment or every test, we're going to sit down and go through what went well, where did things kind of go sideways, or what could you work on for next time? Or if it's
Yeah.
sports or if it's chores, just pick that one thing and set that expectation.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think there's a time and a place when they need that direct, like if there's a safety issue, absolutely. We are going to step in and give them that feedback, right? Yeah. If I think if, big ticket values or laws or, um, rights are affected, then I think immediately that's when we can come in.
Yeah, fair enough.
And give that.
Yeah,
but everything else, like the more collaborative, because they're just not going to take it up. They're just going to think you're a jerk.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair because we've had parents along the way that we've seen scholastically and in sports that are critical all the time and vocally critical all the time. And you can see it in the kids that they just immediately shut down and tune them out. Right. So yeah, the regular cadence is probably important. The trick will be, trying to figure out how to implement that with someone that's a bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the little one, whatever, we can force her to sit through it. She's got years left.
Well, one thing you could do too, I was just thinking, if you don't have one specific thing, it could be every day. What's the mistake of the day? Or like, what's one thing we can work on? What's one thing? And you can go around, everyone gives, we do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing I can work on? And everyone gives me that feedback. And so we're having that as a conversation as a family.
Yeah.
Right.
The trick with that is making sure the kids don't use it as an excuse to bash each other.
Well, no. And so it could be part of date night because we have questions, like that could be a piece of it. So you could just establish just a general conversation too. It doesn't have to be a specific, after every test. It could just be every Sunday. We're going to check in and we're going to talk about how our week was.
I have noticed on the past couple of date nights that both girls have been more receptive to the question portion.
Yeah.
Whereas I remember the first few, it was, ugh. And Willow, especially on the last one, she was ready to go.
Yeah.
She had an idea. She incorporated some of what we talked about earlier, but she knew what she was going to ask, which is a good sign.
And asking us the past several, okay, so what are your 3 questions? Like I'm ready and actually looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And there's more thought in it. So that's an expectation that I don't know what the 3 questions are. There's not a major theme, but they know the expectation is you ask us 3 questions and we ask you 3 questions.
Yeah, totally.
So cool. So being proactive, setting it up beforehand, inviting kids, saying, hey, but I would proactively say, this is the expectation now.
Yeah.
Whether it's a general family discussion about things we're doing that are going well or things that we need to work on. It could be relationship stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's talk about the weekend with your sibling. How did you guys get along? What was going well? What were some good times? What were some harder times? How do we address that? It could be used in anything.
Yeah, totally. So, I agree.
Alrighty.
Take care of yourself out there.
Good day.